Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you every week from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful ice of the Galactic Empire. Join your hosts, John Mark Tolley, Garrett K. Jones, and Brian Karasik, as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore, characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. And remember, this isn't just my Star Wars, this isn't just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. It is indeed our Star Wars. Welcome once again to a very special edition of War of the Stars, where we will be talking the Love Edition. Can you not hear me now? Uh-oh. We have been having technical difficulties here for... Yeah.
We're in the hands of engineers.
Yeah. Okay, this is going to be a fun one, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, what do we want to do? How should we proceed with this?
Will, if you can hear me, go to the chat.
All right.
Can't hear anyone.
Oh.
We're going to have to play charades here, guys. Hold on. I've got a pen.
Captivating stuff here.
Oh. I can't read. I couldn't read. It was blurry.
I
don't know if you can hear me, but it was blurry.
This is going to be so much fun.
I'm going to go out and come back in.
Okay. That's very confusing.
We'll
be back with us in just a moment. This week we do have a very special episode in light of the previous holiday. We are going to be talking about love across the galaxy. Will, can you hear us now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
We can hear you. All right.
Woo-hoo! All right. We're only 3 minutes in, folks. We're all set.
Yes. We made it work.
Nobody drop anybody in or out.
None of us need Comcast to get our theme park back up and running.
Yes. Yes, we're talking love across the galaxies. We're talking some of the greatest love stories within the Star Wars universe. And,
some of the worst, actually.
Some of the worst, yes. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
Should we just pull the Band-Aid off and talk?
Doesn't every young woman grow up dreaming of being wooed by a mind-reading, paranoid demigod who has the power to kill her with his mind and thereafter kills a bunch of children that she should justify? I think that's the dream right there. I mean, a generation of children raised reading Twilight as a romance is going to see this as pretty charming.
I mean, my ex-wife was, strung up on Han Solo for, 50 plus years. So
it's the pants.
It's got to be because she took
tight pants.
She took his death in episode 7 very, very personally for some reason.
I was asked to leave the theater. I got to stop for a moment here. Our guest Will has got an amazing collection behind him. I just need to ask, what is it behind the lit rectangle just over your shoulder? Yes, there we are. What are these things?
So the rectangle itself it's actually a baseball bat display case, but it's filled with about 10 Star Wars. On the end here, a couple of last 17, which are the really hard, more rare figures at the end of the line from 1940.
Oh, okay.
Variant figures, and of course my favorite, being the music teacher that I am, Max Rebo and his band.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of this. Also my student boxing tube, and I run Whatnot sale almost every week now. So for Star Wars merchandise, so it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent.
That's really cool.
Nice.
Oh, you were talking.
Yeah.
I feel like we need the fun music. We need the Barry White music. We need the
I tried to get that in with the "It's love time on War of the Stars." Yeah.
I could get really
And we
awkward.
just lost about 20,000 subscribers. We don't have 20,000 subscribers, but
So
20,000
now we're in a
people
deficit.
just signed
Great,
in.
thanks.
We had
20,000
new people to
signed in
subscribe just
just to leave.
Oh man. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of go through the through some of the key ones. We'll start with we'll kind of go through the trilogy in order of appearance, and some of the other additional romances. If you guys think of anything off the top of your head, by all means, we'll go with that. But first one we want to talk about from the original trilogy, of course, is the quintessential relationship between Han Solo and Leia Organa.
Yeah. I like this one because I think, unlike, and we'll get to obviously Anakin and Padme. This one felt like it had time to breathe, and it felt more organic. Like with the other one, we'll get to that later, but it felt very forced. Like, you had to get from point A to point B, so these two have to be together. Whereas with Han and Leia, it felt very natural, it felt like a natural progression from the time you first meet them to in Jedi or in Empire when they confess their love for each other and that they like each other and everything like that. So sorry, my daughter's looking at me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's seeing that's how that's like chronologically in the time that movies have come out, the first romantic relationship. And feel everything else kind of compared to that. How that, they complete opposites. Then something happens later on, that the intensity of the adventure that they're on, kind of fuels the passion, I suppose you could say, or the sexual tension, if you will. But here's not to pivot for 1 second, but did anybody feel when you first saw Star Wars, when it first came out, you have no concept of Empire or Jedi or anything else, but the question I have is Luke and Leia. Now remember, at that point, we didn't know that do you think that there was a connection there, or was it just more like everyone was just kind of figuring out?
Well, I mean, more to the point, George Lucas thought there was a connection there. Splinter of the Mind's Eye, they have a romantic relationship, but yeah. I've told this story before, Will, but when I saw episode 4 in 1978, I was 4 years old, and I brought my Luke and Leia figures with me on a date. I think everybody who was alive prior to Empire Strikes Back had the assumption that the primary male and the primary female would naturally end up together.
Yeah.
It's a similar
interesting
twist
though.
how Ron and Hermione end up together instead of Hermione and Harry. It's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and it's one of those things that in hindsight, even if you don't have Luke and Leia as brother and sister, to me, it just makes sense. Like the way Luke's personality is and the way Han's personality are and Leia's personality, it makes sense that Han and Leia would be the two to get together. I don't know why. Maybe it's just, looking at it, in, hindsight being 50-50 type of a thing. But like even if you weren't have the whole twist of Luke and Leia being brother and sister, it still to me just makes sense to have Han and Leia together.
Well, there's a little bit more to it than that. I mean, obviously, Paula Abdul famously said that opposites attract. There's my one music reference for the month. But
that is how she ended up with MC Scat Cat.
That makes sense. But the other factor to that is if you look at the original trilogy, especially in the lens of it being a retelling of Arthurian legend, and subsequently Harry Potter being, basically the same plot as Star Wars, because it follows the same hero quest format. But you've got Luke as being this Arthurian figure. You have Leia being the Guinevere of it all. And then in the middle of that, you've got the best friend in Han, or Lancelot. Hanselot? Yeah, that works. And what did Lancelot do? He came in and he wooed Guinevere. Now that was a little bit more of a sleazy tryst in Arthurian legend, because she betrayed her marriage, and in this case there was nothing like that because Luke and Leia eventually became identified as siblings, which still makes me cringe every time I see that one scene in Empire. We all know what it is.
Yeah,
we all know. But I always like that up as a reminder as someone who really loves and has celebrated Star Wars from the prequels to the sequels to the original to the TV shows, that I feel like I think it's important different with the original trilogy, that it made no mistakes, it did nothing wrong, because I think that's the scene we don't like to talk about is a glaring moment in the trilogy that maybe George didn't know everything that he was going to do. So,
which might be why Yoda never says the word Padawan in 3 movies, which maybe why we never hear about Qui-Gon for 3 movies. Sorry. I love the movies as well, but George's mythology that he had the whole story written it falls apart under mild scrutiny.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and we're getting off topic, but I'm just saying that, for the purposes.
Well, I love to discuss that.
Purposes of the romance aspect of it, I think that it's work in progress, and I guess he kind of left it open ended, and developed it with Han and Leia, and and it made sense because at that point Luke was kind of out of the picture anyway, by the whatever. 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. My Roman numerals were escaping.
What about the culmination of it, the end of it? Does it make sense that Han would do what he did in the sequels?
I think
that
it does.
Han was the type that when stuff gets hard, that he just is like, peace out. I gotta go. I can't take this. Does he seem like that type of a person?
Well, I think
maybe not leave, but
yeah, I think that's an oversimplification though, because things didn't just get tough. I mean, they had a son who took the dark side, and it was his best training him, and it didn't work. It didn't take, and there were other factors, of course, but I think that it's like I equate it to sometimes when a married couple has a child and the child commits suicide or has some other traumatic event happen to them, or they die in a car accident, then sometimes the couple can't, it's like the line he says, every time you look at me, you're reminded of him, whatever. And Leia's case, I think it was more you need to go out. And then, of course, he goes out to try, knowing, I think, in my own think that he just so sacrifice for both professed love for Leia. So
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one, Will. With regards to Han and his characterization, like kind of going back at first, I looked at it as no, there's no way that Han would do something like that, but that is kind of quintessential to his character. In that, I mean, the first thing we learn about him is that he had a bounty on his head because he dropped cargo and ran away from an Imperial Star Destroyer. Things got challenging, things got hard, and rather than dealing with being boarded and actually holding onto the cargo and hiding it like a good smuggler would, he bailed and fled. That was something that caught up with him later on in Episode 7, where he and Chewie are reintroduced, and again he's being hunted for the exact same thing.
That's
so
my
the fact
line.
that he would bail on his wife after their son went psycho, that it feels very in character for him.
Also, in the original trilogy, he bails on the rebellion. He comes back, but he does leave.
Yeah.
And then he bailed on the resistance and then came back.
I think we meet him in between the bail and come back.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's very much in character for Han. That doesn't mean that I don't think that means that he ever stopped loving Leia. I think that their bond and their connection. I mean, the fact that they have a child, whether that child is a, is in turmoil or not, that bonds two people, and that's just something that I think that, sometimes people are very. It never seemed like, there wasn't any hint that I don't think in the dialogue and in Force Awakens that led me to believe that the two of them were, really, like not amicable, I don't think it was that kind of a thing. I just think that he bailed because he thought that Leia couldn't stand to look at him. Whether that was true or not, maybe that's what he thought. So he just kind of got out of the way because he loved her and he didn't want her to feel that. That's just where my.
I like that take on it. I think that's a good read of Han, and again, a strong character. A bit of a tragic flaw, a bit of a heroic effort, and still tragic. I like it.
When Maz Kanata was like, Han, go home, and first thing he said, Leia doesn't want to see me. Like he's just kind of just that way.
Will, that was a very good Maz Kanata, by the way.
Who's the girl? No, I like it.
I do Palpatine voice work, so I always respect even that one line. I can tell you put some work into it. Well done.
So Han Solo bailed on Leia Organa, so to make him bail Organa.
Thank you. Okay.
That's the show, everybody. Thanks for playing.
Go drunk, Mark. You're home.
That's great. I would like to touch on perhaps an underrated love story in the Star Wars universe, which is the Lost Stars novel in the new canon. Have any of you guys had the chance to read that? Okay,
not yet.
So it does come across like young adult romance novel fiction, and there's a good reason for that. That's exactly what it is. But it's a really good novel. It's more than just a romance story. It is the story that I've been waiting for 30 years to read, which is seeing the Empire from inside the Empire. We see two young children grow up together and join the Empire together because they are proud to. They've been waiting to join, and they go into TIE fighter training. And from there, their relationship and their careers diverge. But they are both gifted pilots. They are both patriots, and they both learn the opposite lessons from their time in the Imperial Navy. And I love it. I love it. The love story is great. The turmoil between the relationship is great. It's an amazing book, and I really don't want to spoil it, but I would say if you have any interest in the emotional weight that can come from war, from loss, from the rise of fascism, this is the book to read. Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. Claudia Gray, I mean, you can't go wrong. She could write a grocery list that's better than, well, I don't want to insult any novelist, but better than some. But at any rate, yeah, Lost Stars, it's a great one. It has a really good ending. And we do see, I don't want to, again, I'm not going to spoil anything. I think we see what happens when a loyal Imperial sees the Emperor face to face for the first time. Not even face to face, just sees him in person. And we learn that for the duration of the Empire, basically from the time that Palpatine founds the Empire, he's barely seen in person after that. Everything that comes out is holovids with filters on. And he looks like he did before Mace Windu's attack. And so for this character, Sienna Ree, as she's a stormtrooper, she's on the Death Star 2 when Palpatine arrives. And it doesn't go well. She's very put off by his appearance, and it shakes her to her core, her love of the Empire and her belief in the order that we're bringing and the cause that she's been working for her whole life. She sees this man and feels the waves of evil coming off of him and sees what he looks like in person compared to what he looks like an hour ago when she saw a press release. And that sort of thing, I think we don't see enough of that. And Will, this is something I harp on quite a bit, where we see villains in the saga where they're just twirling their mustaches and tying Leia to the railroad tracks. We don't see people who are in the Empire because they believe in it. A little bit of Krennic with that, but Krennic is too power hungry. And I really love this book, not only for the romance, which is well done because it's Claudia Gray, but also the patriotism of two young people who grow up, find their faith in the Empire, and then have to deal with it. You can't see here, but behind me are not one, but two Join the Imperial Navy posters, Will. I was a U.S. Navy sailor and a recruiter, so when I saw the opportunity to decorate my office with some Imperial Navy propaganda, I gotta go.
Nice.
All right, we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to jump into the prequel trilogy. And, of course, the big romance there is between Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala. The secret forbidden marriage that directly causes Anakin's fall to the dark side.
All right. I think that, well, let's get it out of the way. There was a lot of awkwardness in the first time we see. Well, I wouldn't say Phantom Menace. That really wasn't a romance, right? That was just more of a connection, which honestly I liked with little Jake Lloyd and Natalie Portman's character. You know,
it was charming. I agree.
Innocent. She definitely cared for him, but you know, it was simply just a connection. You know. And I know that some people, you know, got weirded out by that. And then it was like, because then, you know, fast forward 10 years and she even says the line, "Oh, Annie, you'll always be that little boy on Tatooine." And, you know,
that makes it so much worse that she says that.
My take on it is that she's telling that to herself, because the first thing she says is, "Wow, you've grown." You know, like, you know, she notices that this is not some little boy anymore.
Hey.
You know, and then she says that line, I think, to put him at bay, but her also herself. So, but I think the whole of episode 2 is, until we get to the arena, I think it's very awkward. But isn't young love awkward? as a high school,
I was so disappointed in that love story. I believe that they are in love with one another only when they are not in the same room.
Yeah.
Their chemistry disappears when they make eye contact, and it's so frustrating. And we can make jokes all day long about like the age difference from episode 1 exists in episode 2. Just because it's Anakin, just because it's Hayden Christensen does not mean that she's not still 10 years older than him.
I will say this though, is that as awkward as everything seemed in the films, the romance and the love story and the amount of care, true actual care that you see between the characters is fleshed out throughout the Clone Wars series. And so while that is animated and it's different actors portraying the characters themselves are written in such a way that the romance is believable. The way that Matt Lanter portrays Anakin, while it's still within the same vein in between the episode 2 and episode 3 versions of Hayden Christensen, matches very well. And the performance that he gives is, you can hear that in the vocal acting. Same with for the life of me, I cannot remember the actress who did the voice of Padme in the animated series, but she does a very good job of portraying that same sense of stoicism that Amidala was known for, that sense of propriety, but at the same time, in those private moments where it's just her and Anakin, where they have no one else to interject, whether it's a droid or a Jedi or anything in between.
Catherine Tabor.
Thank you. There is something very believable in the performance, and you can see that on screen.
Oh, she was in Force Awakens as well.
Catherine Tabor?
Yeah.
No kidding.
She was the voice of a Starkiller technician. That must have been just like a nice little, come on in.
Yeah, they did a lot of the voice actors.
Will, I met Matt Lanter at Star Wars Celebration, and I recognized him. And I said, "Oh wait, no, it wasn't him. It was." Dang it! It was a brief moment, and it was funny. I want to make sure I get the right guy. It was who played Maul.
Ray
Sam Witwer.
Yeah, Sam Witwer.
So
I saw him. I'm embarrassed I forgot that, but it's been almost 10 years, and I'm 51, 52. So anyway, I saw him coming to the hallway. I was like, "Oh my God, it's Sam Witwer. I love his work." And excuse me, Mr. Witwer, do you have a moment? He said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I thanked him for the work that he put in recontextualizing Maul as more than just a 5-minute bad guy. And thanks so much for what you did. And I love your work. And if it's not too much to ask, could I hear you say something? And he said, "What do you want me to say?" And I said, "Whatever you feel like." And he said, "Hey, I'm Sam. How you doing?" You win this one, Witwer. I didn't. That's good. I'll take it. I didn't specify.
I'll kind of follow up with that with a story. One of the celebrations it was right when Clone Wars was just coming out, and the cartoon series, and it was, my wife was an elementary school teacher she taught computers, like technology, for first and second graders, and the Clone Wars was big with that age. So I went around. She was responsible for doing the morning announcements, and she kind of did it almost like a podcast, where she would have, like, they called it, they're the Cubs, so they called it the Morning Cubcast. And she'd always have different kids in the second grade read the announcements. And so by the time we got to the whole year, everybody did it. So I thought it would be fun if I could get the Clone Wars actors, who at the time they weren't like being mobbed or anything. So I went up to them all, and except the only one I couldn't get was Ashley Eckstein, but I was able to talk to James Arnold Taylor, Obi-Wan. I was able to talk to Matthew Wood for Grievous and the battle droids, Captain Rex and the clones, D. Bradley Baker, Matt Lantern, and I got them all to record. I said, I explained the situation. Said, "Would you mind doing an intro for the school's Cupcast?" And they're like, "What do you want me to say?" And I literally took out copy, and I said, "Here, read this." And I took out my phone, and they all did it. And I still have recordings of it, and it was great. But when they first announced that in the school, the kids went insane because they didn't announce their names; they announced their characters. So this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're listening to the Orchard Hill Morning Cupcast, and the kids just went insane. So it was fun. Sorry.
I'm going to come back to that afterwards, after off recording. I think that the love story between Padme and Anakin is, for me, it loses a little energy because, as you said earlier, Garrett, we know where it's going. Like, we know how this is going to end. And it's frustrating to me to see how many missteps happened exclusively. Like, there's so many preventable steps. And metatextually, you don't want these steps to not be taken because you want there to be the movies. Like if they'd had a happy marriage and he hadn't fallen to the dark side, like, okay, great, episode 2 is the end of the saga, no big deal. So, you want him to become Darth Vader, but still watching the needless restriction on marriage, the needless, like there's no, it is very much like Harry Potter here too. There's no degree of punishment. Hey, I got my girlfriend pregnant and we got secretly married. So what now? There's no punishment other than you're out. So it's like the Jedi Order appears to have one level of punishment, and that is Azkaban, i.e. you are excommunicated, lose your lightsaber, lose contact with everyone you've ever known your entire life. Bye. Like,
wait,
I don't.
You're telling me that Harry could have gone to Azkaban if he got Hermione pregnant?
Depending on the context in which he did so, yeah, I'm sure there's some regulations, but let's not get too political. I think if she's not more than 6 months older than him, no, we're gonna skip that part.
You're going down a really dark hole there, man.
But where I was going with that though was the every step of the way, the Jedi Order opens doors for Palpatine to lead Anakin to the dark side, and watching that happen, it distracts from the romance. The romance is going to happen, but it's a moot point because as certainly as we know that it will take place and conceive to children, we also know that it will fail, and this woman is doomed. And so it's hard for me anyway to get behind. Oh, I hope those two kids will get together and she'll die eventually.
Well, I know.
Sorry, I'm a bummer on this sort of topic, Will. It's always a trope.
One thing, though, and I know it's not canon, is I've been reading some of the Old Republic books, the Revan books. Is it seems like with the Jedi Order, the rule seems to be it's against the rules until it's not against the rules, and then it's against the rules except when it's not.
It's against the rules till Revan does it, is how I read that.
Yeah. But it's... I said this at the beginning, the problem for me, especially with the movie version of the love story between Anakin and Padme, is it's forced. These two people have to get together, so now we're going to force the story into a position where they have to get together, and then we have to force it into a position where something has to happen, and Anakin has to become Darth Vader. So we have to have the relation come to a culmination and butt heads, and yeah, it just seemed very, very forced. And I love the meme. I don't know if you've probably seen the meme. It's from the scene with Anakin and Padme on Naboo, and Anakin is making the cup move to him, and she's underneath. It shows her underneath pressing the panic button. Yeah.
Well, and I think part of the problem with having a story set in a prequel era, anything that comes before, I mean, because the ending, a lot of, and you see this especially with the tail end of Revenge of the Sith, you're basically juggling character story arcs into position so that everything is ready for the next film in the franchise. You have to make sure that things are lining up. Whereas if you start at the beginning, you have a roadmap for how things are supposed to play out, it just tends to fall through. We see that happen in Rogue One. I mean, don't get me wrong, the story is great, but ultimately the detractor is that these characters are fated to die because we don't hear of them ever again. They're not mentioned in any other medium after the events of that story.
I was really worried that they were going to pull something like, and then they went into hiding and lived happily ever after. Like, no, I was worried that they were going to not kill them.
If this was traditional Disney, they probably would have, but
they're cowards for it, but no, I love that.
Thankfully, we didn't get that. It's sad that Andor doesn't get a happy ending. considering what he left behind at the end of Andor season 2. But that being said, and coming from the perspective of a writer, that is one of the things I'm constantly conscious about is, am I just juggling these characters into position for the next story, or am I actually writing a character arc that is true to what I've already established for this character? And that's a very fine line to walk, because you have to make sure that whatever happens is going to be satisfying for your reader or your viewer or whatever kind of audience you're gearing it for.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, this is all stuff that kind of falls into play. But I do what you were saying earlier, Garrett. Can you hear me? Sorry, am I still being heard? Oh, okay. Yeah,
we can hear you.
The development that takes place during Clone Wars, not just between Padme and Anakin, but the other, who was that, like the childhood romance? Who was the guy that Padme was about? Was it, I forget, was it Clovis? Yeah, Clovis was just this childhood romance that was sort of there, and it wasn't really going to be rekindled. But of course, then he dealt with Anakin's jealousy, which again, I thought they handled that so much better with the Clone Wars. And I just think that it really does. I mean, honestly, if anybody has, I know it's a bit of an investment of time, but if you haven't seen the Clone Wars from beginning to end, I tell people, watch it. It's worth.
Yeah, we'll wait. I was surprised by that one, Will. When that came out, I was not really tracking Star Wars stuff. I had kind of wandered off and seeing suddenly there's a movie poster in the theater. Like, oh, we've got Star Wars movie, and I was really surprised. It took me a season to come on board with Ahsoka, but I'm fully on board now. And I did get to meet Ashley in Chicago at Celebration up there in 19.
That's cool.
She was in line for a media pass, Will, and I heard her up ahead. I heard this little, I'm here to pick up my badge. Yeah, sounds like Ahsoka. Oh, it is Ahsoka.
We went to, in Disney, we were at a couple of years ago, they had their Christmas party at Hollywood Studios called Jollywood Nights, and it was a ticketed event. And my wife and my daughter and I were all there, and we're walking around and we're coming out towards this one area, and it's kind of off in the beaten path, and there she was sitting there with another guy who was the guy who plays Aladdin on Broadway, and they were filming something for some part, probably something for the Christmas special or whatever, and we just walked right up to her and we were just talking to her for like 20 minutes because nobody else was there, so it was just we totally ignored the Broadway actor that's like apparently very famous, but we just were gushing with that. So that was so much.
She was great. I approached her. She didn't have any entourage. There was nobody bothering her. It was the day before Celebration Chicago. By the way, Will, were you in Chicago?
I did not go to Chicago. The last ended was 2010.
Okay. I did 19 in Chicago and 17 in Orlando. But at any rate, she was, I said, excuse me, Miss Eckstein. And she said, you can call me Ashley. And I said, no. And just went on. But I do thank her for what she'd done. At the time, my daughter was 2, and I thanked her for that. I can't wait to introduce my daughter to Star Wars through your character and your clothing. And, oh, you're so sweet. Can we take a picture? Oh, yeah, we can take a picture. And she asked if I had anything she could autograph, which was so nice. And then she asked if I'd been to the venue before, Will. I really think she would have showed me around. He's like, have you been here before? Like the vending machines or whatever? No, I'm all good. And she was great. And she walked off and we said goodbye. And then the lady who was giving out the badges was like, who is that? Is she famous? And yeah. And that year, Ahsoka was the child 5-day pass image on I said, well, yeah, you see the 5-day, that's her. And she's like, oh, my daughter loves her. I wish I'd known. And yeah, Ashley. And she came right back and hung out with her. It's great. So yeah, she's a gem. She should be carried everywhere by shaven, shirtless men. But she just walks around on her own feet for some reason. I don't know.
So while we're still talking in Clone Wars era, the next
that's my
romance
love
I wanna
story.
bring up is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Satine Kryze, where tragic romance
I was
is
just about to say that.
by duty to the Jedi Order and Mandalore, forcing them apart.
Yes.
Go
Yes,
ahead,
I was just about to say, Satine. I like this one because again, it's the classic tragic love story. The two people that you know are madly in love with each other, but because of fate, because of politics, they can't be together. And it's in many ways, it's the complete opposite. It's the mirror image of what we see with Padme and Anakin.
I really like the idea that Obi-Wan was just better at hiding it. I don't really think that he violated the Jedi code, but I like the idea that, like, yeah, he was just cooler about it. But no, of course, Kenobi wouldn't hook up.
Yeah.
Do we all see the parallels between that scene
and that's the thing, though.
that whole arc
There's
and Moulin Rouge? I know the three of us have talked about. Will, did you see the movie Moulin Rouge?
Long time ago, but I did.
In that film, Ewan McGregor plays a character who is in love with a woman named Satine, and they cannot be together. And she's promised to a duke, so she's destined to become a duchess, and so they can't be together. And so it's kind of a nod, I think. Satine is not a common name. It's not like her name is Jane.
But I don't know. And I think that I think that's a coincidence, or did it from there, or Filoni or whoever, because wasn't that a remake, that movie Moulin Rouge? Wasn't it like an old movie? Wasn't there an old movie?
I don't think so. No, it's Baz Luhrmann.
I know there was an old Moulin Rouge movie. I don't know if it's the same remake, but my parents' favorite film. I never saw it, but.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, the only version of Moulin Rouge is the one from 2001. But yeah, I mean, there's some interesting parallels story-wise between what we see between Anakin and Padme and Obi-Wan and Satine, in that, like, you see like the immaturity of what happens in that first relationship, and then you see the maturity between Obi-Wan and Satine, because like they want to be together. You can see that, like, he is willing to divest himself of his oath to the Order, but they are both so committed to their individual causes that they will actually go to the opposite extreme of fighting for their respective causes, even if it takes them apart from one another. And you see that there's no dereliction of duty, there's no violation of any rules. And I do think that there was an actual romance, that something did happen between them, because I don't think it's an accident that we are introduced to her nephew when Bo-Katan didn't have any children, and she had no known brother. And he looks very similar. His hair is colored very similarly to Obi-Wan's. It's a nice shade blending hers and his.
Does it have the same angles?
Yes, same geometric angles. And I think that something happened. It was just hidden way better. I think Brian was right in that they were able to conceal it better.
To be fair, the Jedi Code does not say you can't have children. It just says you can't form attachments to them. And I think it's perfectly obvious that Jedi can love one another without it becoming a toxic or limiting attachment. I mean, they hold themselves up as these guardians of compassion. Surely you got to be able to rub up on each other every once in a while.
Yeah.
You can't spell compassion without passion. Am I right, guys?
Stop dealing in absolutes there, Sith.
It's just me randomly trying to tempt Jedi into violating their code. I just can't help it. It just comes naturally, fellas. Well, I got in a long conversation at Star Wars Celebration with someone over about the concept of gray Jedi, and I don't know how you feel about it. I think it's a ludicrous concept. It just goes against everything I've ever read about the Force entirely. But it's more fun to actively encourage, like, absolutely, oh yeah, absolutely, sure, yeah, you can use the dark side anytime you want. There's no drawbacks whatsoever. The best thing for any Jedi to do is to start out using the dark side, go right for the hate and anger stuff, build up your power base, and then you gotta come back to the light side and do all the good stuff later on. And people are like, wait a minute. No, great Jedi's great. There's no risk at all, no downside whatsoever to the dark side. You'll be all set.
That's awesome.
I call that I have a Sith named Darth Carosis. That's Darth Carosis's Guide to the Grey Jedi. I'll post it every once in a while. People are like, stop trying to corrupt imaginary Jedi. Anyway.
Oh, goodness gracious. You see what we've had to be putting up with, Will?
I like
he just drives us crazy. No, it's been good. It's been good. We're actually coming up on, we're at 46 minutes right now. We try to keep it under an hour. We'll have to continue this conversation at a later time, but we'll wrap up. We'll start with you. Tell all the good folks out there in the galaxy where they can connect with you.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys, I run a YouTube channel. You can look for me as Darth Tuba. You can find me on YouTube. I do unboxings. I do all sorts of, now I'm doing Whatnot sales on the Whatnot app, and I kind of tie that into my YouTube channel. So I kind of document my journey of buying and selling Star Wars. I still collect, but I'm trying to thin down my collection, and I'm just documenting that. So you can find me on Whatnot. Look for Darth Tuba 77. Darth Tuba is my handle for things like Blue Sky and on Facebook. So you can look for me there. And yeah, just by all, and DarthTuba77@gmail.com is my email if you want to ever reach out to me for any questions. But yeah, that's where the best place you can find me. So thank you.
And with Brian, go ahead and tell everybody out there where they can connect with you and your corrosive
Absolutely.
wave.
The folks at home can come see me at 500 Republica at the Senate Center top floor. Oh, no, sorry, just kidding. That's Palpatine's office address. No, see me at the Sith Library and Archives on Facebook. I post as Darth Carosis, one of the admins out there. We got a great team. We provide a lovingly curated collection of anything dark side related, dark side, Empire, Dathomir. If it's bad, if it's the bad guys, the antagonists, we're there for it. Bad guys doing good, we're out there for you. Come on by and see us at the Sith Library and Archives.com.
All right. As for me, you guys can connect with me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books. I'm actually going to be doing a box set giveaway. If you sign up over on my Instagram account, you'll find a link for this. And you can sign up for free. At the end of the month, I'll be doing the giveaway and announcing who the winner is. But this is 5 books of my fantasy series that you'll be able to get without any purchase. And also starting on Tuesday the 17th through the 21st of February, I will be doing free giveaways on Kindle of my newest book, Midnight Playground, which is celebrating its first year in publication. So again, those links are found on my Instagram. You can also connect with me on YouTube, where I talk about my show, The Right Way, where we talk book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. Both Mark and Will have been featured on that show at various times, and they have given some great book recommendations, especially in the Star Wars venue. And then, of course, I'm a part of a new show on, well, it's not that new, it's been around for a year, but Snackame on Feast of Fandoms, where we eat snacks and talk anime, sometimes not in that order. So join me for that.
Oh, all right. As for us right here at War of the Stars, if you want to get a hold of us, you can do so by going to warthestars1@gmail.com. All other social media, that is Blue Sky, Instagram, X, and YouTube, is at War of the Stars 7. If you want to support the show, Ko-fi.com/War of the Stars. or go to spreadshirt.com/shop and then just go to spreadshirt.com, search War of the Stars, and you should be able to find all the cool merch there. As Garrett mentioned, we are a proud member of the Feast of Fandoms. Check out all the shows on Feast of Fandoms. There's literally a show for every fandom there is. I think we even now have the Battlestar Galactica show coming out. So I think all we have to do is just get Babylon 5 and maybe Stargate, and we've got them all. I can't. But yeah, check them out. A lot of great shows on there. Also, if you want to check us out on our audio only version of the show, we're on all major platforms for podcast: Spotify, Podbean, everything. Just go to wherever you find your favorite podcast at and search War of the Stars, the Star Wars podcast. You could check us out there. With that being said, next week we are talking. I remember. Oh, no new episode next week. That's right. I'm going to take a little break, going on vacation with the wife. So there will be no new episode next week. But so check us out in 2 weeks, and hope you guys have a great weekend, a great week. And remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Almost forgot our little tagline. May the Force be with you.